Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Tracey Abel. I'm Director of Operations here at American College of Healthcare Sciences, and I've worked with many of you through the admissions process as well. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, Success Through ACHS and Beyond, with outstanding graduate Tracey Robbins. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We've already done a check that everyone can hear me, but if you do have any issues throughout the lecture, feel free to post your questions in the chat box, and I'll help any way I can. You may have noticed that your line has been muted. We are recording today's session, and this just helps ensure we can more clearly hear the presenter during the recording and improves your experience as a participant. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the call. So if you have any questions as we go for Tracey, just type them into the chat box and we'll come back to those at the end, or she'll answer them during the lecture. If there are any questions that need some more research, we'll be sure to follow up with you after the webinar, and there will be a recording of today's lecture as well. Now I'd like to turn the webinar over to Tracey, who is going to give you a brief introduction of her background and then begin her lecture. So welcome, Tracey. I have turned the controls over to you, and are you able to hear us?
I can hear you.
Wonderful, and we hear you. So I'm turning it over to you.
Okay. Great, thank you. Well, I would like to thank the American College of Healthcare Sciences for allowing me to do this webinar today. And so I'll just go ahead and get started. As I said, my name is Tracey Robbins, and I am a graduate of the American College of Healthcare Sciences and their Outstanding Graduate of the Year this last year. I'm just going to kind of give you my history as I do this presentation, so we'll kind of just do it all at one time there. So I'm going to start with a little quote. If you reach a goal, if you want to reach a goal, you must see the reaching in your own mind before you actually arrive at the goal. See if I can, oh, it's not letting me change screens here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. So when you're going to choose a college, probably, or at least a new direction in your life, there's probably a reason why you're going to do that. And so this is kind of like a little of my history on why I chose to go to school and ACHS. In 2006 and 2007, I was having a problem in my body. And to kind of a brief history, my skin just started burning. It was like one day just started burning, and couldn't explain it, couldn't understand it. It was just a burning sensation in all of my skin. And so I went to several doctors and tried to explain to them that this burning sensation is happening, but there was no physical manifestation. There was no redness, there was no rash, there was nothing that they could see. There was a slight warm feeling to it, but there was nothing that they could actually see. So they said that there was nothing. It was just basically in my head, and I was experiencing anxiety. I knew that it wasn't anxiety. I knew from other things that I have a lot of allergies and sensitivities. I felt that this was an allergic reaction to something. And so I'm trying to explain that to them, and they're just telling me, no, you're having anxiety. Why don't we put you on some anti-anxiety medication? And I, of course, did not want that. And so I was kind of just left in this realm of kind of being stuck. And it was one of those experiences in just passing by, and I overheard somebody talking. The subject of my issue did not come up. I was just in passing somebody, and I heard the comment on maybe we should be careful on what we put on our bodies and in our bodies. We might be taking in toxic ingredients. And I just kept walking by with that idea. And it kind of started percolating in my mind a little bit. And so I came home and I did a little research on different things that we put on and in our bodies, and might they be toxic to us. And a lot of things came up. And as I'm researching this, I'm thinking, and so I went to my bathroom and I pulled out everything that I either, put on my body, body lotions, body washes, my shampoo, my conditioner, my makeup, everything. And I started reading the ingredients lists. And a lot of little common denominators kept showing up. And more little light bulbs went off in my head. And so then I went to my refrigerator in my cupboard and I started pulling out some other things and started reading the ingredients list, and there were a few more common denominators. And so a few more light bulbs went off in my head. And so then I did some more research of some of these chemicals, and I will say chemicals because there were these long words that I couldn't pronounce. And I did some research on them, and would they be, toxic to the body if you're getting them in large quantities. And, the research you get back, it became a pretty good idea that maybe you wouldn't want too much of them in too large of doses. So then I got to thinking, and so then I would go to the store and try to find something that did not have these ingredients, and I could not find anything. This, again, was back in 2006, 2007. And so then I'm, again, stuck. So then I thought, okay, well, I need to make my own. I like to mess around in the kitchen. I need to make my own. But how do I do that? And so then I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to do that. And so like most people who want to know an answer, I go to my handy-dandy computer and I Google it. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I want natural stuff. So that means I want it from the earth, from nature. I want it from plants. So I did have a little bit of background that plants kind of, you can, get herbs from them, or you can get essential oils from them. So I thought, oh, aromatherapy. I want to become an aromatherapist. That was my great idea. I'm going to become an aromatherapist. Help you become an aromatherapist, and of course your list comes up. And I started researching through different schools of these from my list, and I kind of focused on it wasn't at that time the American College of Healthcare Sciences, it was the Australasian College of Healthcare Sciences. And I kind of focused on that one because it wasn't just aromatherapy, or it wasn't just herbs, or it wasn't just nutrition. It was everything. It was all holistic medicine under one roof. And to me, that was very important because it would, in my mind, it would tell me the why behind it. It wasn't just going to tell me facts and figures and then go out and do something. If I understood the why behind what I was going to learn, then I could apply it and go out and be able to make my own product and what I needed to do. So that is why I chose the American College of Healthcare Sciences. And so if you're going to become a student, or if you're going to make any changes in your life, I think it's very important that you probably set some priorities. I think one of the best priorities in doing that, yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you
Tracey?
do us a favor and the start meeting screen, the little toolbar there, could you move that to the bottom of the screen? It's coming up over your slide, so that would be great. Just to the very,
is that better?
can you move it farther?
The very bottom?
Yeah, even all the way out of the way. Okay.
As far as it's going, yeah, that's as far as it's going to go.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Well, let's do one other thing just to make this a little easier because it will cover up part of the slides. If you click on that button there, select items to share. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
As soon as, no, select items.
So go ahead and click on that and just uncheck everything except PowerPoint.
Okay. Gotcha.
And let's see.
Did that help?
It makes it a little bit better. That's interesting. There. Well, that's at least better. Thanks so much, Tracey. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. No problem. So if you're going to make school a priority, I think you should probably let people know that you're going to school. When you're a student, I think it takes up a lot of your time. So if you try to keep it quiet or try to keep it a secret, I don't think that really works well. So the more people that you allow, they give you a little bit of leeway that way. We were this last April. Let's see, I think it was in April, we were at a conference for the distance learning, and one of the people there who was also receiving the distance learning award said that she got her degree online. She got her master's degree actually, and nobody in her family, she had 4 children, none of her children knew that she was even going to school, that she was a student, and she took great pride in that. I thought it was a little sad because each part of her life she was keeping away from her family. So I think having people know that you're going to school is important. And getting a degree online is a huge thing. So you are worth it. I think you need to determine that it is going to be a priority in your life and actually set time aside for that. The school mentions in their classes that you should schedule about 9 hours per week for each of the classes. Some of my classes I spent much more than 9 hours a week. Some of them I spent less. It really depends on the different classes. But I think that's probably a pretty good framework. Since you are going to school online, you're not in a school, I think it's kind of neat to actually carve out a school place in your own home where you will be having your classes. And if you can actually keep all of your materials in one place so you're not having to run off and try to find your textbook or run off and try to find your note cards and this and that. If you kind of try to keep everything in one place, I think that's probably a little better than having, Johnny playing with your essential oils and just having to rush around trying to find everything. And if going to school is a priority, then I think it's probably essential that being able to set aside time for your studying and letting people know that you should not be disturbed during times is probably a pretty good way to set things up also. Your schoolwork is very essential to what you're trying to achieve later on in life. So I think that's a pretty good way of setting things up from the very beginning. And again, it's not letting me scroll through. So sorry. Let's see if there we go. So you're going to school online. You're not like going to a classroom. You're not going to a campus, but you can still make relationships with the staff and with the faculty. You can call the campus. You can email them. Every time I either called or emailed, the emails get responded to right away. If not that day, the very next day. When I called the campus, I was actually got my questions answered right then. If I think it was like 2 times somebody had to call me back. They are very interested in getting your your questions answered right away. Another big reason why I chose ACHS is that they're located in Portland. I'm located just south of Seattle. So I've actually been able to visit the campus a couple times. It's fun. It's a great thing to do. They put on different workshops from time to time. When you do go and visit the campus, they celebrate you coming there. They kind of make a big deal out of you because not too many of the students get to come and actually visit the campus. So it's kind of fun to go down there. The school has all sorts of ways that you can become involved, be part of the campus, if you want to call it a campus. You can register for their blog. They have a blog and a newsletter. Make sure that you're a part of that. They have a Facebook page, a Twitter page. They have their own YouTube channel, which is great. This is one of the best ways, I think, of knowing, actually learning how to apply what you're learning, because they show all of the workshops that they've ever done. They shows you how to actually do this stuff. So there's workshops on there on the distillation process, on how what me and my family call the making of the lotions and potions. There's just all sorts. There's wildcrafting, going out and collecting herbs. It's just really fun to kind of watch, and then it just kind of gives you a little bit of confidence of being able to do it yourself. They also have kind of a faux Facebook page themselves. It's the My ACHS Connect. So if you are a student or an alumni and are pretty proficient in Facebooking, they have their own type, basically same thing, and you can get on there and you can become as active as you want to be. There's different, what are they called? Discussion boards. So there's one for making of product, there's one for essential oils in home products like window cleaning and toilet cleaning, all these kinds of things. And there's one for herbs. It's just kind of a neat way of being connected with the other students, and there's staffs on there, and it's a way of being part of something that is a little bigger than just being in your home, stuck on a computer thinking you're doing these classes by yourself. Ask questions. The faculty is there. If you feel like you're having trouble in a class, ask questions. Here I was taking all of these holistic classes and herb classes and all this, and I actually found out that the hardest class I took was English composition, which was actually quite surprising to me because I was always like the word person, and I never thought I would have problems in this class. I actually taken college level English comp. This was my third time, and I was kind of bummed out I had to take it a third time, but through all of my college level learning, I taken these breaks, and the last time I took English Comp was 7 years ago, and it was too long to actually transfer the credits, so I actually ended up taking English Comp again, and I was a little upset about it, so I probably went into it with a bit of an attitude. But so I struggled. I don't know why. In those 7 years, I think they changed the English language, and that just goes to show you how old I probably am. But I was actually struggling so hard in this class, and I couldn't really figure out why I was struggling so hard in English Comp. And I think Lauren Shapiro was teaching the class, and I think she actually figured out I was having a meltdown in one of my posts, and it was not probably 2 hours later she called me and we talked through the problem, and I was not having so many problems in English Comp after that. So I really was very thankful that the faculty's there for you, and everybody at the college does want you to be very successful through your college experience. So you're out here and you're kind of feeling like you're all on your own because you're doing this online. So it really helps to create a support system. And once again, tell people you are in school. If you tell them, they will be supportive. I said that they will be supportive. I think most people will be supportive. There might be a few who kind of wonder what it is you're doing. But this is becoming far more mainstream, so I think all in all, most people will be supportive. What I did, I found one or two fellow students in each class that I found a connection with. I found that very helpful. As you go through the classes, you're going to find from semester to semester that there's going to be a repeat of these same students over and over again, and that's great because you're going to find one or two students, fellow students that you feel drawn to, that you kind of have the same mindset, the same worldview, and that's great because then you can kind of bounce ideas off each other, you can use each other as a sounding board, and all of a sudden you don't feel like you're the only one who's doing this, and it kind of gives you that little bit of a support system. Something that my husband and I feel is very important in life is that if you have something that you're trying to work diligently towards, it's really helpful to have somebody that can hold you accountable in your life, somebody that will ask you the hard questions. You know, have you done your homework this week? Have you studied for your test? What did you get on your last test? And are you, keeping up on your postings? All of those things so that you don't fall behind. Draw your family and friends into what you're learning. This is, I think, very important, especially if you have small kids in the house. You can kind of use some of these labs as science projects. And again, it's not like you don't want to feel like you're out here all on your own. My little picture here, this is me being kind of left out here on my own for that one time. So I'm taking aromatherapy chemistry, and I'm a visual person if I can actually see the visual. Beyond that, I'm not visual at all. And so the lab was to make aroma molecules. And we were given the formula, and then we were supposed to go and gather our snacks and toothpicks and make the molecule. And in my mind, I could not quite figure out how to do that because I'm not a visual person. And I was just struggling, and we were trying to make these 3D projects, and it's not working out in my mind. I couldn't get the bonds to be right. And so I finally just was like, I just can't do this. What is going on? So my husband, who's far more right-brained than I am, he came into the room and I said, babe, I need your help. And so I explained to him the project, and he's like, oh, sure, that's easy. And so we got more snacks out, more toothpicks, and before you knew it, we had molecules all over our kitchen table, which was kind of fun. And then I was like, don't start eating them yet, because I got to take pictures. So I took the pictures, and then, of course, online, I labeled them, and I sent them off to get graded, and I felt quite successful in everything. And I wish I actually put up the picture, because there was one molecule that was extremely complex and had so many different bonds that had to be made, and it was very tight, and it was just a very complex molecule. And a few days later, I got a note back from the instructor, and he said, you made a mistake in one of those bonds. And he didn't tell me which bond that I made the mistake in, but he said, you need to do it again. And I was just like, what? How do I possibly do this again? And I don't even know which bond it is. So I was just like, oh, no. And my husband entered the room, and I said, babe, we got to get the snacks back out because we have to do it again. And he had a funny look on his face, but then again, he was very supportive after that, and we got it done. So how do these classes work for you? And this was a very interesting process for me, because something happened right in the middle of my coursework that actually turned out to be really the best thing ever. I wasn't too sure when it happened, but it turned out great. So you really need to set up a schedule that works best for you. When I started in 2008, I think, the spring of 2008. And at that time, I just was going for my certificate in aromatherapy. I was just wanting to learn about plants and being able to make my own skincare products. And so I start taking these classes, and it's wonderful because you're not just learning about aromatherapy. They're wanting you to be more well-rounded than that. So you have to learn about some nutrition, and you have to learn where plants come from, and the whole package. And so as you're doing that, my mind starts clicking a little bit. And as my mind's starting to click, my daughter is going through a little bit of life, and she's needing to make a couple of changes, and she says, I think I would like to go to school to be a massage therapist. And so that makes things click a little bit. And then we're just kind of going through this idea, and then my husband kind of gets really into gardening, and then his mind starts clicking a little bit. And all of a sudden, we just kind of all look at each other, and we would, at the same time, we're just kind of all coming together and saying, hey, what if? Wouldn't it be amazing if you're learning this knowledge, I'm becoming interested in this, this is becoming very important in my life, what if? And it was probably maybe a few days, a week later, Joel from the school called me and said, Tracey, we are changing our program here a little bit. We're actually going to add an applied associate's degree into our program, so we're making it more comprehensive. You are actually on schedule to be able to add that to what you're doing and be able to graduate with an applied associate's degree. We think you would be a good fit for that. And I was just like, whoa, that is so kind of weird, because he didn't know, but we've been thinking, what if? And so I got off the phone with Joel, and I went to my husband, and I said, this is what's just been presented to me. And he looked at me, and he just goes, wow, you've got to do it. And I said, well, instead of graduating in 18 months, I'm going to now be graduating in 2012. And he goes, so you got to do it. And so I called Joel back up, and what really worked for me, and Joel really helped me with this, was that we sat down at that point in time and we worked out my entire schedule. So for the next 3.5 years, I had a concrete schedule. I was taking 2 classes at a time, and we worked out what classes I was going to be taking through each semester through the end of my program. And I found that to be very helpful, so I saw where I was at, where I was going, and exactly when I was going to be ending, and I knew what I was going to be taking at any point in time. So as you're setting these things up, you need to really look at your life, what it is you're trying to accomplish. And you're probably going to school online because you have life happening. So how many classes can you take at a time? What works into your life? Are you going to need to take breaks from time to time? My husband just graduated with his master's degree, and the school that he went through, his program was that they did take breaks. They took the summer breaks off. When I worked this out with Joel, and knowing my personality and my life, I did not take any breaks, because I know if I would have taken a break, it would have been really hard for me to get back into it. So I did not take breaks. I went straight through. There was one time I took 2 classes at a time each semester. There was one time that I stepped back and just took 1 class during the semester. I was going to go to Central Asia for a mission trip, and I just knew that that was going to be a lot of extra stress upon me. So during that semester, with just the 1 class and knowing that I was going to be away, what I did was I just doubled up my workload in that 1 class and got way ahead. I told the instructor that was what I was going to do, and I just got way ahead in that class, and then it wasn't so much extra catch-up work when I got back. To me, going to school online, you can take your classes with you. I was in school for 4 years. My classes went with me on every vacation, every car trip, every place I went. I took it with me when I went 2 weeks in China. I took it with me every place I went. I think it's very easy to do. The only time I did have a struggle taking it on vacation with me was we went to Disney World, and while we were in Disney World was the time I had a huge class project, so multiple people project, research paper due. And I was the lead on that research paper, and that was a little bit stressful, but it all got done, and it happens. You know, you just make it happen. Keeping up on your postings, that is to me probably one of the most important things. You're in these classes, you have your discussion boards, you have to make posts, and if you have like 30 people in a class and you only get on every 4 or 5 days, once a week, and you have to read through all of those 30 posts, actually plus, because people are commenting on those posts, and then you have to respond to them, that takes up a lot of hours. But if you keep up on them daily, it's just not as much time and effort and work. Try not to get too far behind on your classwork. That's when you get to ask for help from your instructors. If you get so far behind, say 2 or 3 modules behind, it's so hard to catch up. And then you have that looming deadline at the end of the class that it's just almost feels very overwhelming. So you just don't want to get too far behind. I know that when new classes start, everybody's pretty anxious and excited at the very beginning. Everybody's just like right on those posts and very right caught up on everything. And then halfway through the class comes and you start seeing people kind of sliding off, and it's kind of, you know, sad because you know how much work you're putting into it, and you just want everybody to be as successful. So if classes have labs, don't think of them as optional. Actually do the labs. That actually helps make the knowledge that you're learning become concrete and real. So I think doing the labs is very important. And try to apply what you're learning. Don't just read the books, don't just read the literature, don't just do the paper and then, you know, set them on the shelf. Actually apply what it is that you're learning. Make it part of your life. This is, if you had a dream of becoming something, actually use it to further what you're trying to make your dream do. So again, apply what it is that you're trying to learn. And once again, I was just going to say, tell people you're going to school. Talk about what it is you're learning. Most people are going to be interested, especially in this day and age. People are really looking for these complementary and alternative ways of bringing healthcare into their life. So they're very, if the subject comes up on anything, you know, people are looking for tips on how to keep themselves healthy and how to use maybe some homemade type deals that they can do in their own house with their own families, and it can turn into some really interesting conversations. So just feel free to just start talking about what it is that you're learning. Again, do the labs. When you do the labs, actually use what it is you did the labs for. So if you're making a lab to make an ointment, learning how to make ointments, actually use the ointment. Don't just let it sit on a shelf. If the ointment really didn't turn out very well, do the lab again and try to use the results. You might have to do that lab 2 or 3 times. But I think the first time I made my ointment, it was kind of syrupy at the first time, so I think I had to make it 2 or 3 times to actually get the ointment consistency. But use them, and this is why you're going to school. So enlist your family and friends as testers. And I use that word testers because it's a nice word to use here. We kind of use the word guinea pigs when I was doing this. So I have a wonderful group of wonderful, wonderful ladies who was with me from the very beginning of all this. I am a yoga instructor. And these were my core yoga ladies, and they were extremely supportive all the way through this. And no matter what it was I was learning, they were very interested in it, asking me questions. No matter what it was I was making, they were like, let us try it, let me have it. And so I love them. They are still very true and dear to me, and they're still very willing to try pretty much anything I try to dream up. People are pretty willing if you just ask them. And right now I'm doing pretty good. I have a pretty good track record. Nobody has grown any third limbs. Nobody's gone blind, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. When I was doing my herb classes, my husband and I planted our first herb garden. Our herb garden now is far more successful than that first herb garden was, so we're doing pretty good on that one. We're actually getting really great herbs now, and we're using the herbs that we're planting. So we have lemon balm that's like crazy big, huge lemon balm plants, and that's the lemon balm I use for my lemon balm tincture. I don't source out other lemon balm. We grow our own horehound, and I use the horehound that I grow to make horehound cough drops. Let's see. I'll show a picture later that we've moved to a new location, a new house, and we kind of live on a hill in the woods, and I'll show you a picture later, but we're surrounded by nettle, stinging nettle, and when we moved here I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? And then I learned, oh, nettle is so beneficial and so nutritious, and so a girlfriend and I, we went out and we harvested nettle. And that's the nettle I'm going to use. I'm not going to go out and source the other stuff. So I'm using what I have. If you're going to be an aromatherapist or an herbalist, I think it's very important to smell and taste everything. You're trying to hone your skills. So it's kind of like creating that palette. And so it's kind of like being a foodie. You want to taste everything. You're kind of a wine expert. You're smelling, and you're kind of just engaging all of your senses in all of this. So actually, got to get a little risky sometimes. What was that one thing that was very risky? As we were doing our organoleptic testing for all of the essential oils, we're experiencing the oils with all of our senses, and I came to that thyme oil, and I thought, oh, I love thyme. I love the herb thyme. And then it got to that tasting of the thyme oil, and I thought I was going to die. That was the most potent oil of all of the oils that we tasted, but I can actually say that I did it. And try to apply at least one thing you learn to your life every day, and that way this is becoming your life. It is becoming who you are now, and so this dream that's been starting to percolate is going to actually come to fruition, because this is who you are becoming. And once you actually get there, you get to celebrate your success. Celebrate your successes along the way. You passed a class, you scored well on a test. Actually celebrate this so that you want to just kind of keep going. My picture here of my diplomas, my husband calls it the wall of fame. I call it the wall of flame, because at this point I'm just trying to see how many things I can accumulate. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get a few, maybe a few more. So I was getting really close to the end of my course load, and an email came through, and I think it was from Heather Bailey, and it was, so you're getting close to graduating. It's time to apply for your graduation, and we need you to apply for your diploma. And then there was this little blurb that said, make sure that you apply for everything that you have become eligible for. And I thought, well, that's a good idea, but how does one know what you have become eligible for? Because I'm just doing these classes to get that degree. And so I call up Heather Bailey and I posed that question to her, and she said, well, let's look at your transcript. And she does that, and she looks at it, and she says, wow, you're doing pretty good here. And she starts saying, well, you better get out a pencil and paper. And I did, and she starts listing things off, and I knew I was getting my applied associate's degree in complementary and alternative medicine, and I knew I was majoring in aromatherapy, and I was pretty well good with that, and that's what I was striving for. And after I got off the phone with Heather, I kind of had to sit there for a few minutes and just kind of let everything sink in, because I didn't really understand that there's so much more, that in this course of learning I accumulated knowledge beyond what I was thinking I was getting, I guess is the best way of saying it. So when I actually got everything said and done, and I got all my diplomas in the mail, this is what I got. I got an associate in the applied science in complementary and alternative medicine with a major in aromatherapy, a diploma in holistic health practices, a certificate in wellness consulting, a certificate in natural product manufacturing, and a certificate in herbal retail management. And again, my wall of flame. So I was dumbfounded and kind of had to kind of let that sink in. It was the applied associate's degree was extremely important to me. And then when I was told I was actually getting a diploma in holistic health practice, that was kind of the one that stunned me, because I knew I was studying aromatherapy, and I knew I was studying herbs, and I knew I was studying on how to live in a natural, whole way. But to have that diploma saying that I understood everything, that was really the kind of the humbling part for me. And so that was extremely important. So I still wanted to become an aromatherapist. So I graduated January 2012, and there is a national exam you can sit for. I think they put it on twice a year. The next available one for me was in April. And so I used those few months to study like crazy, and then I sat for it. I think it was actually on April 17th, 2012, and luckily I passed on the very first try, thanks to all of the wonderful knowledge I received through ACHS. And so part of my wall of flame is my certificate as a registered aromatherapist. So I'm very, very proud of what I've achieved, and it's, again, it is to me it's a very humbling experience. So to actually have them all there in one place, and to actually look at them and to know that I have a lot of knowledge behind me, and I now get to apply that to the dream that I actually had. And then when the college did honor me with being their Outstanding Graduate of the Year and going to San Francisco and accepting that award, that was another very humbling and very appreciative honor. So you've had this thing percolating in your mind. What are you going to do with it? You've graduated. You've had this dream percolating, and so now what? So you get to live your dream. And our dream was to have a wellness center, and we actually started the formation of it while I was still in school. We trademarked, we came up with the design, we got our LLC. We did all of that while I was still in school. My daughter actually did get her massage license. She went to school. She completed. She sat for her national exam. So all of these things kind of happened while I was still in school, so that when I finished, then we could actually just kind of start moving towards getting it set up and going. So at our center, we offer yoga, massage therapy, aromatherapy, a customized skincare line, herbs, teas, tinctures, holistic counseling, nutritional counseling. We try to bring all of those different modalities and bring them under one roof. So it's been kind of fun. It's been an experience of taking something out of absolutely nothing and watch it grow by baby step, and it's just been one day living exactly what I've wanted to do. So I'm just extremely blessed. I feel very, very blessed. And so putting it all together, everything we have here is made right here. Customized skincare, I actually love to do it customized. I can actually, anybody can make it for the masses, but I really like to make it customized, because then you're getting to know your client and their actual needs, and not just, putting it out there for thousands of people. It's what that client needs. They know that they're being listened to. They know that they're important as an individual. Everything is made right here by these two little hands. We're going to start. Excuse me. The picture down in the left-hand corner is we had our workshop. It was a herbal preparations workshop. So we're starting to build workshops and getting out in the community that way. And again, the pictures of that's that stinging nettle that it's here on the property, so we're going to start using it. So this is how we're putting all of this knowledge and bringing it here together and using it right here in the Wellness Center. Be a part of your own community. A local church has a bazaar once a year, and that's kind of where we get out and sell our product and let awareness of who we are be known. That's something that's kind of my idea of our next step, is becoming more active in our community, get involved with some of the other healthcare professionals in our community, start building those bonds. We're a very social network-based society right now. So of course we have a Facebook page. If you like us on Facebook, just under Traditions Wellness, you'll get a daily holistic lifestyle tip. You'll also get our monthly newsletter that has all sorts of recipes and ways to live holistically in it. We're on Twitter and we're on LinkedIn also, so you can get it that way. And some helpful resources for you. If you are looking into getting into some of these complementary and alternative practices, some ways of getting information. Of course, you can go to the American College of Healthcare Sciences website. They have lots of information there. If you're just looking for different modalities, you can go, the government actually has a website, the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. If you're interested in aromatherapy, there is the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapy or the Association of International Aromatherapists. If you go to either one of those websites, it'll give you a listing of the qualifications that you might need to become an aromatherapist and some of the different governing bodies that the aromatherapists have. If you're interested in nutrition, There's the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, and again, they'll give you qualifications on what it is to become a nutrition professional. Or if you're interested in becoming an herbalist, there's the American Herbalist Guild. And then I would love to leave you with one last thought. Don't wait until everything is just right. It will never be perfect. There will always be challenges, obstacles, and less than perfect conditions. So what? Get started now. With each step you take, you will grow stronger and stronger, more and more skilled, more and more successful, and more and more self-confident and more successful. So that's what I have for you, and I'll let Tracey see if there's any questions.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tracey. It was really wonderful to hear your story start to finish. We've had a chance to meet you, of course, here on campus, and you're absolutely right that we always love it if you can visit us here. You know, I know a lot of you can't come here physically, so you know, Skype is another great option. We love to be able to put, you know, a face with a voice, and it's nice for you to be able to do the same. So we do have a couple of questions from students. First, Deneen, thanks for the question. You've asked Tracey, how many classes did you take in a semester, and were you part-time or full-time in your studies?
Well, I would assume I was part-time because I was taking 2 classes a semester. I'm not sure what the college considers a full load. So I took 2 classes each semester. There was one semester that I just took 1 class. So it worked out best for me because I did have a job. I did have family responsibilities. Putting that average 18 hours per week for those studies, it really did work for me. So I would assume that that would be a part-time student?
That's correct. That is part-time, so 6 credits is half-time. Full-time would be 12 credits, which is usually 4 classes. And study time for that would be about 40 hours a week. So, you know, how many classes a student takes really depends on, you know, what you can do. And we counsel students about what's best for them. The important thing is to have the time available so that you really get the most out of studies. We want students to be successful. But we do have a lot of full-time students who also work full-time. They have families, maybe other obligations. So it's just very individual. Deneen is also wondering if you thought about continuing on with your degree and either maybe doing a bachelor's or a master's program.
Ah, yes.
Does it ever end?
Does it ever end? Very interesting. My husband and I had this conversation yesterday. We were talking with a friend, and we were talking about being constant learners. Both of us, this is very important to us. And as he was saying that, he looked at me. And he goes, you know you're going to go back. So, yeah, I know I'm going to go back. And so it's just the question of taking that leap. But, yeah, I just, you know, I think this last spring, ACHS put in their offering the master's in aromatherapy. And I went, oh, a new challenge before me. I want it. And it just, to me, would just be that next step. And but for me to have that, I have to get my bachelor's degree. So there's a step before the next step. And I'm kind of letting that one sink in. And coming to terms with knowing I have to get that bachelor's degree first. So I know it's going to happen, and just going to have to either take the leap or wait until it's the right time. And I know the right time never really comes up. You just have to take the leap when you take the leap. So we'll see. I know it's going to happen. I'm just not quite sure when.
Well, I think one of the really exciting things about this field is that there is always something new to learn. There's always new research, new ideas. I mean, I've been in this industry a long time. I started with a massage background a long time ago, and even in the last almost 12 years I've been with the college, seen tremendous research and growth in the field. So I think it's one of those things that those of us that are drawn to this field are lifelong learners and are committed to that growth.
Yeah, yeah.
Sandra had a question, as well as Elda, which I can provide more information about. But specifically, Sandra wondered for you if you used federal financial aid or and other outside funding to help support you with the financial investment of going to school.
I know that the school is wonderful on helping you find ways of financially making this feasible. Luckily, I can say that we were blessed that we had the funding available just through my husband and myself. I know that there are scholarships out there. I know that if you're part of the military, there are ways of making that happen. So yeah, I'm sure that you have far more information on that than I do, Tracey.
Okay. And just briefly, we do participate in the federal Pell Grant program for qualifying students in the program Tracey completed, the Associate of Applied Science in Complementary Alternative Medicine. And we do also offer monthly installment payment plans. As Tracey mentioned, all of the military and employer tuition assistance, and lots of scholarship information. Actually, one of our admissions advisors here, Amanda Heller, whom some of you may have spoken to, did her entire bachelor's degree on scholarships. And I just learned that about her and was totally blown away. I just thought that was so cool. And so she has put together some resources for students, and if not this week, by next week we'll be sending those out to everyone. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our blog, be sure that you do, because that's where we're going to be posting this. And to do that, you would just go to our home page and click on ACHS blog. I'll also put the link to the blog right in the chat box, and you can copy it from there, because there's going to be some really good ideas coming there. Let's see if we have any more questions. Jonna, great. I'll make a note. Be sure you get the scholarship information. Collectively, everyone's really enjoyed the presentation. So Tracey, thank you so much for your time. It was really inspiring, as someone else here said. And we'd love to continue to hear from you, hear what you're doing and how your practice advances.
Oh, most definitely.
Great. Are there any last questions before we end for today? I don't see anything coming in, but lots of thank yous. So for anybody with remaining questions, feel free to call me here at the college. It's 800-487-8839. And Tracey, any last words for us?
Just thank you so much, and I just hope that everybody's school goes really well and that your classes are exactly what you're trying to get out of them.
Wonderful. Well, everyone have a great rest of the day, and we'll look forward to talking with all of you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.